welcome Alexandra to Silicon Valley Pro. Alexandra is a recent graduate from the University of Washington, majored in arts of economics and psychology. While finishing her studies, Alexandra was able to intern in a couple of companies such as MARTEN law firm and Bell-Red Energy Solutions. And recently, Alexandra accepted the offer from the PACVUE and starts next week as an associate marketing manager. Hi, Alexandra.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining. And I think it's very impressive that you just graduated from college and you're already starting a career, a new position as an associate marketing manager. Can you briefly describe how did you make it happen?
So when I started college, I made the decision to seize every opportunity that I could. So I was talking to all the professors that I could. I was meeting people at career fairs. I was applying to a lot of jobs. And for me, each opportunity that I got, even the unpaid internships, the paid internships, they taught me a skill, a unique skill that helped me land the next opportunity and so on. So when I was applying for the position at PACVUE, my combination of skills that I learned from college and skills that I learned from each job made me a unique candidate.
Mm-hmm. When did you start interning while you were at school?
I started interning my freshman year, and each internship that I had, it lasted for some lasted for 3 months, some lasted for 6 months. They just led me on to the next opportunity. So I started very, very early in my college career.
Mm-hmm. So based on your experience, what do you think every student who is going to college right now, in order to start a successful career, what steps should they do in order to be successful and to start a successful career?
I think has to do a lot with the mentality. A lot of students view college as a time to, have fun, a unique time in their life, rather than a time to learn as much as they can to set themselves up for a successful future. So my recommendations would be use your professors as a resource. Your professors are very knowledgeable, and the worst thing that could happen if you make a good relationships with them is that they'll likely at least care about your grades and help you in that aspect. But they can also help you with finding jobs in industries, introducing you to people, and also giving you other resources that you could look at to make your career successful. I also recommend going to job fairs. It only takes one connection to get you a job. So one specific connection can lead you to so many different opportunities. And I also recommend applying to as many jobs as you can, because each experience is unique in its own way. And anything you learn from one opportunity, you can talk about at a next interview.
Mm-hmm. And were you searching for a paid internships, or for you it didn't matter?
Of course I wanted paid internships, but my first internship was unpaid, and I was not very happy that it was unpaid, but I realized that it's something that I could add to my resume, which would make me stand out in my sophomore year when I was done with my internship. So, and after that, I was also looking for paid internships. So once I did the unpaid internship, I gained the skills. And after that, I was valuable to employees who were looking for interns.
Mm-hmm. Me, as a person who never did internships while I was at college, I'm curious, how long does it take for a person who is a student in university to stay at a position as an intern?
So usually internships are during the summer. So they're usually around 3 months long. Sometimes there could be fall and winter internships, but the most common are ones during the summer when there's no classes. And sometimes if the employee likes you, they can offer you to extend the internships into the school year. So they can range from 2 to 3 months. They can range, if your internships get extended, they can range to your whole college career if you and your employer decide that that's what you want.
Mm-hmm. How likely is it to intern in a company and then get invited to a full-time position after you graduate?
It all depends on hiring needs. A lot of the times, if the employer likes you and you like the employer, it's quite common to get an offer if you performed well. But sometimes, once you're done with the internship, you go back to school and you can't work full time, and the company has an immediate need for a full time candidate. So it doesn't always work out, and it's not necessarily based on performance.
How did you find this permanent position that you're starting next week?
I found this position through a college website. So each college has their own career website where like, companies who are near the college post openings. Colleges have jobs from different states, so it varies by the size of the school you're in. But each college tends to have a career website, and that's where I found my position. I applied for it, and that's how the interview process started.
Mm-hmm. And how did it happen that you started right as a manager? I mean, like you just graduated. I know you're associate, which is like a junior level, but like why manager? Like, don't you have to like go through the steps in order to become manager, or is it something different in that company?
I had the experiences that the company wanted, and which led me to be able to apply to this position and get it. I think that the experiences I had throughout college made it so that I qualified for this role.
Mm-hmm. And why did you choose marketing? Your background is economics and psychology.
So I thought long and hard about which positions I would be a good fit for. Economics has a lot to do with finances, so I considered that route pretty heavily. I ended up deciding on marketing because in marketing, there's a lot of analytics, which is something I'm good at and I'm very interested in. There's a lot of communications with clients, which is something that I like because I'm a social person. And there's a lot of room, there's a huge room for growth. So that's something that I'm definitely interested in. There's most of all, not even that there's room for growth, but there's room to explore. If there's internal marketing, there's marketing analytics, there's so many various marketing subfields that I can end up going in if I like something in particular, that I thought this would be a really cool thing to do after college.
Mm-hmm. And considering the background of economics and psychology, I think it also kind of matches into marketing because there's a lot of numbers and there's a lot of psychology behind it.
Yeah, so the psychology of like understanding people and just understanding decision making has to do a lot with marketing, but also the analytics is a big part of it. And in economics, it's like business, so it helps.
Since you've been interviewing a few times for companies, even interning, what employers are looking in the newly grads, like, or in people who are still in school? Like, what qualities are important for them?
I feel that employers are looking for what value a candidate can bring to the team. So whether it's a new perspective where it's knowledge of a program that other team members don't have, or ability to do something that other team members can't. So it's something new to the team. And a lot of the times the technical skills are proficiency in SQL, proficiency in Excel, proficiency in QuickBooks. Any programs are very common because a lot of people have the same soft skills. So a lot of people have the attention to details, being a good team member, those soft skills that are very, very important, but those are not necessarily unique. So they do want you to have a combination of soft skills and technical skills.
Mm-hmm. And what combination of soft skills do you think are required?
Attention to details, being a good team member, being able to take on other responsibilities, being able to work independently, having a goal, being able to set a goal and being able to set a deadline. Things that make you a good employer, a good employee.
How do you think your achievements in school influenced the decision of you being hired or not as a newly grad?
I did an honors project for 2 years at UW, which I'm able to talk about at interviews, and it shows that I have the soft skills, that I'm able to plan and execute a project on my own, that I'm able to learn new skills that when I have to. It just shows the interviewer that I did something that was not ordinary. I completed it, and here are the results. So it gives me a huge talking point that shows what I'm capable of. I also have a pretty good GPA, so that shows that I was able to study and I was able to do what was required of me. I was able to meet the basic needs and go above and beyond. And I think that's very important for college students to not just do the bare minimum, because there's going to be a lot of students out there who graduate doing the bare minimum. But what makes you stand out is what you did that's above and beyond the bare minimum.
What types of questions are usually asked by employers in the interview?
Employers usually ask questions that test your technical skills. So you can have a question that asks, how have you used Excel in the past? How have you used SQL in the past? What formulas do you know in Excel? Things like that. But another set of questions that's very common is, how have you worked in a team before? How have you worked through challenges before? So questions that test your fit within a company and your interpersonal skills. So when you talk about how you dealt with the difficult situations, they're testing you. How would you deal with a difficult situation in this company? And if it's your way of dealing with a difficult situation, or it's your method of taking on new responsibilities and how you handle that, is that the way they would like to see you take on new responsibilities and work through challenges and etc. in this particular role?
Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a prior experience, can you talk about your projects at school?
Yeah, so for undergraduates, it's very common to be asked, when is a time that you were struggling with time management and how did you solve that situation? Or once again, when is a time that you showed extreme leadership skills, or some soft skill question? And there's definitely a great space to talk about what you did in college, because we all went through these situations while we were in college. We struggled with time management, we struggled with leadership, we struggled with working on group projects. So these are great opportunities to talk about how you handled these situations.
Mm-hmm. And what was important for you when you were interviewing with the companies? Like, did you ask any questions, or how did you choose the company? What was important for you personally?
So whenever I prepared for an interview, I always looked up the company, had a set of questions that I wanted to ask, because for me, cultural fit and how the cultural environment is, what kind of projects I'd get to work on, where I would get to take the lead were very important points, what opportunities there were for growth. I wanted to look further and further ahead to where I could end up within the company that I was selecting. So I always made questions that showed that I was interested in the future and working for the company in 5-10 years. And as soon as I asked those questions, I got the answers that I was looking for, and I was able to decide with this company or another company, do they have to offer what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. And did you interview with other companies, and why did you choose PACVUE?
I interviewed with a lot of different companies before COVID-19. So I was looking for a company to work for after graduation, even back in December. And a lot of the companies I was interviewing with, they had positions that were great. That needed the skills that I had to offer, but they didn't have a lot of room for growth, or I didn't like the management style. And I just didn't feel like I would be able to work there for an extended amount of time. They all felt like short, temporary positions that I would learn skills at and move on. And with PACVUE, I had a very good connection, a wonderful connection with each person I interviewed with. And I felt like this would be a place I could call home for a couple of years at least.
Mm-hmm. Great. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
Okay. And so my last question regarding the interview and your position would be, how did you prepare for the interview? Like, what did you do step by step?
So I usually knew who I was interviewing with, whether it was a recruiter, whether it was the hiring manager, whether it was a team member. I would do my research on this person and find points where we could connect and find questions that I could ask to show my interest with the company. So if I was, let's say, interviewing for a heating company, I would research stuff that related to the heating industry, to the cooling industry, so I could show my genuine interest. And if I was asked a question, why was I interested in the company, I wouldn't have to make up an answer. I would do my research prior to the interview. And like answer to myself, why am I interested in this company? Why am I interested in this position? To be able to pass that along to the interviewer. Because interviewers can always tell when you're making stuff up and when you're not telling the truth. So it's best to be prepared and have questions in mind and know for yourself why you're at this interview, rather than have the interviewer be able to tell that you have no interest and you're just looking for a job rather than something that's actually you're passionate about. I would structure my resumes differently for each interview. So I'd read the job descriptions and align my resume to reflect the job descriptions. I would always arrive to the interview 15 minutes early and have a portfolio with me that has my resume, that has my cover letter, that has recommendation letters. I would always not just look ready, but I would always be ready in terms of how I present myself, what questions I have, and what documents I have with me.
Mm-hmm. And did you actually present your references at the interview?
Several times when they asked about, can we contact your references for recommendations from you, I would just give them my reference letters, and they had the email of my references, their phone number, so they can contact them if they needed more information. Mm-hmm. And these would be positions that I was very, very interested in, that like I wanted to have them hire me ASAP. So here's the documentation, here's all you need, just hire me.